Okay, I would like to welcome everyone to the Henry County Zoning Board meeting of Thursday, September the 11th, 2014. And at this time, the Zoning Advisory Board would like to recognize the work of our nation's first responders, and especially those first responders in Henry County, and remember those fatalities of September 11th, 2001 at the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., and Flight 93 in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. With this, we would like to take a moment of silence, and please remove your hats. Thank you. We would like to also welcome our new Zoning Advisory Board member, Elton Alexander, who's going to be representing the City of Stockbridge. Welcome aboard, Elton. A few housekeeping items. This meeting is being televised live on Charter Channel 180 and AT&T U-verse Channel 99, and will be rebroadcast every Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. and is available by video on demand on the county website. Now also would be a good time to turn off those cell phones. Okay, I appreciate that. If you wish to speak tonight, we need for you to fill out a public hearing speaker card, and those are on the podium there. Okay, and we're going to allot 10 minutes total for those in favor of a case, and 10 minutes for those in opposition of case. So, for example, if 10 people wish to speak, they all have to share in that 10-minute slot and so forth. Please address the board when you come to the podium, and don't turn your back to us and speak to anyone in the audience, because when you do that, I will dismiss you from the podium and ask you to have a seat, because I'm going to assume that you're finished speaking with the board. Okay, at this time, we'll have the invocation and pledge by Warren Bailey. Please stand.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to meet and discuss the county's business. We ask your guidance and wisdom in all the things we listen to and hear tonight and discuss, and help us to make the decisions we need to make. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is now called to order. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the 9 cases presented on the agenda.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the 9 cases as presented on the agenda. Would that be an amendment to the agenda?
I'd like to make a motion, yes, that is an amendment to the agenda.
Okay. And we have a second on that amendment. The seconder, do you agree with that, Mr. Head? Okay. So all those in favor of accepting the 9 cases as presented on the agenda indicate by raising your hand. Okay, motion carried.
I would also like to make a motion to amend the agenda to reflect the following case. CU 14-10 has been tabled.
Okay, we have a motion to amend the agenda to reflect that the case number CU 1410 has been tabled. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor indicate by raising your hand. Okay, motion carried. Okay, so do I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved.
In a second? Any discussion? All in favor of the agenda as amended, please indicate by raising your hand.
Yes.
Okay. Just to make sure I got all the bases covered. All righty. Moving on. Okay. Also, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second? We have a second by Mr. Alexander. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by the raising of your hand. Motion carried. Okay. At this time, we'll have staff comments. Do we have any staff comments?
Madam Chair, prior to the staff comments, there's one other item, the appointment of a zoning advisory board secretary. It's on your agenda.
Oh, yes, okay. I didn't have that as part of that. So I need a motion to appoint a zoning advisory board secretary. Do I have a motion for that?
You would need to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you would need to make a motion to who you would recommend to be that person, and then
Okay. So somebody needs to nominate a person.
it could be a zoning advisory board member or a staff member.
Okay. Okay, so I need someone to recommend a secretary for the zoning advisory board. It can be a staff member or it can be a zoning board member. Gibbs.
I recommend that we appoint the planning director, Mr. Dante Gibbs.
Okay, all right, so there we have a nomination for Mr. Dante Gibbs. Do I have any other nominations? Okay, so hearing no other nominations for the position of secretary on the zoning advisory board, do I have a motion to appoint or elect Dante Gibbs as secretary for the zoning advisory board? Okay, a motion by Mr. Head to elect Dante Gibbs as secretary of the zoning advisory board. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Nelson. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, motion carried. Thank you, Dante. Any other staff comments?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to take this time to introduce to everyone a new member of the Planning and Zoning Department. It is Mr. Stacy Jordan. He is another Planner 1 that has joined our team, and we are happy to have him, and we'd like to officially say welcome, Stacy.
Welcome. Okay, at this time, we're going to move on to the agenda items, and so we're going to go to item number 1.
ULDC Amendment 14-01, American Towers LLC of Woburn, Massachusetts, care of Ellen W. Smith, Holt Nay of Atlanta, Georgia, requests an amendment to the Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 7, Standards for Accessory and Temporary Uses, Section 7.0500 Wireless Communication Facilities, in accordance with Sections 12.02.11 and 12.0300 of the Henry County Unified Land Development Code, and the request is presented by Dante Gibbs.
Good evening, Madam Chairman, board members.
Good evening.
The applicant is requesting a text amendment to the Unified Land Development Code Wireless Communication Facility Section 7.0503 entitled Administrative Approval for Wireless Communication Facilities, Section 7.0504 entitled Administrative Review Process, Section 7.0505 entitled Wireless Communication Facilities Applications Non-Administrative Approval, Section 7.0507 Evidence of Need Report, 7.0508 Visual Impact Assessment, 7.0509 Development Standards, 7.0511 Environmental Standards, 7.0513 Prohibited Conditions of Approval, which is currently entitled Conflicts with Other Laws, and that section will be pushed to create a new section. Section 11.0106 Regulations of Specific Non-Conforming Structures, Section 12.0206 Requirements for Permits, and Appendix A, and to add, like I said a moment ago, ULDC Section 7.0504, which will be Conflicts with Other Laws. According to the applicant, the purpose of the request to amend the ULDC is to facilitate an expedited approval process for replacement of WCFs in certain limited circumstances. In this particular case, the applicant is proposing to remove an existing non-conforming 230-foot self-support wireless communication facility or cell tower located at 19 Holloway Road and replacing the existing wireless communication facility with a new 199-foot monopole, which includes a 4-foot lightning rod. That will be relocated to an undeveloped parcel located at 77 Holloway Road, which is approximately 515 linear feet away. And with that being said, Georgia lawmakers passed legislation entitled House Bill 176, effective July 1st, 2014, pertaining to cell towers. And according to Section 36-66B-6 of House Bill 176, quote, in regulation of the placement or construction of any new wireless facility or wireless support structure, a local government authority shall not, number one, condition the approval of any application for a new wireless support structure on a requirement that a modification or co-location to such structure be subject to a review that is inconsistent with the requirements of Code Section 36-66B-4. Number two, require the removal of existing wireless structures or wireless facilities as a condition to approval of an application for a new wireless facility or wireless support structure unless such existing wireless support structure or wireless facility is abandoned and owned by the applicant. Number three, require the applicant to place an antenna or other wireless communications equipment on publicly owned land or on publicly or privately owned water tanks, buildings, or electrical transmission towers as an alternative to the location proposed by the applicant. Therefore, what the applicant is proposing will be governed by the parameters established by Georgia House Bill 176 for local governing authorities. Nevertheless, the site on which the wireless communication facility is proposed to be relocated will require land disturbance in order to clear the needed area for the pad on which the proposed structure will be constructed, and must submit all required applications, documentation, development plans, and fees for development review to the Henry County Environmental Compliance and Plan Review Department. In addition, the applicant is requesting to delete ULDC WCF balloon test section 70508C in its entirety. This supports a progressive incorporation of the advances in technology that allow more efficient means to stimulate topography and area structures. To simulate. The current ULDC section, photo simulation, section 70508B, allows utilization of the aforementioned advancements in technology for applicable simulations. Lastly, the suggested sections and subsection classifications amendments in 120206 promotes consistency with the collective numeric and alphabetical organization of the ULDC. Staff recommends approval I won't go through all the sections again because it's kind of exhaustive, but as the sections that I had stated in the beginning of my presentation, as they are outlined in the proposed modifications and strike-through included in your ZAB books. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, do the staff members have any questions for Dante Gibbs? And so Dante, Mr. Gibbs, I apologize. My question is, so the changes that are before us, those are the changes that were presented by the applicant, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's my understanding that as this moves forward, that the county attorney will take all these changes under consideration and make sure that everything is to where is that you've looked at to make sure that it all is coherent with.
Correct. Before this case goes before the Board of Commissioners, the county has a process called a red folder review. It is at this time that the department head who has an item that will go on the agenda will be present at the meeting to explain or answer any questions that the county attorney will also be present and ask if he has any questions there. And so he will have an opportunity, or they will have an opportunity to review this case before it meets or goes to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, thank you so very much. Would I like the applicant to please step forward and state your name and address for the record?
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Ellen Smith. I'm with the law firm of Holt, Ney, Zach Coffin, Wasserman. It's a mouthful, Holt, Ney for short. 100 Galleria Parkway, Suite 1800, Atlanta, Georgia. And I do have the pleasure of representing the applicant. I sat through your work session. I know that you have a lengthy agenda, and I won't begin to repeat the summary that Mr. Gibbs has already given you. But I do want to just give you a little bit of background. This came up primarily because of competitive situation. You have a number of cell towers in the county. Those cell towers, a lot of them have been there for 10 or 15 years. Cell tower industry leases are generally 20 to 25 years, so they're long term. And they're generally extended once that 25-year term is up. In this particular situation, American Tower, which is the #1 tower owner in the county, also one of the largest taxpayers in the county, has a situation where a landowner does not want it to renew a lease. We have 4 carriers on that tower: T-Mobile, Sprint, Clearwire, and AT&T. If we take that tower down, down, those 4 carriers can no longer provide service. So we're forced to look for an alternative location, a replacement tower. We found that. It is very close to the existing site, but because of some changes that your code underwent in 2009, there is absolutely no property within the realm of proximity to this that would meet all of those carriers' needs where we could comply with your current ordinance requirements. But we've also had a change in the Georgia law that has come into effect July 1st. Based on those changes and this need, what we've done is work with staff to present an ordinance amendment that accomplishes a couple of things. It accomplishes compliance with the state and federal law, number one. It also allows for very limited, extremely limited replacement of an existing tower. If an existing tower is there and an applicant can continue to show need for that tower, meaning that there are carriers on it that are operating, if the applicant can show that they are going to change the design of the tower or lower the height of the tower, then there's an administrative approval process, and it has to be within no more than 850 feet from the existing tower. If the applicant can meet all of those things, there's an administrative process very similar to other administrative processes that the county already has in place for existing towers and modifications. I say all that to say I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. I appreciate your time and consideration of this request and the staff's. We've been working on this for months. Literally, I came here for the first meeting on what I still call Snowpocalypse Day. It's the reason that I got a nice 4-mile walk home in my skirt suit and heels. So we've been working on this since January. I'm happy to answer any questions and appreciate your consideration of this request.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant at this time?
Thank you.
Okay, you may be seated. At this time, we're going to allow for 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. So if you'll please come to the podium if you want to speak in favor of the case. Okay, I don't see anyone coming forward. So at this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of this case. Okay, I'm going to ask the applicant to please come back up.
I apologize. I got out of order. I thought you were
That's
calling
okay.
me
No,
for the
that's,
support.
no, that's all right. It's just, sometimes if there's opposition or those speaking in favor, sometimes it spurs other questions that the board may have. And so since we had none, I'm assuming that they didn't have any questions before. They don't have any questions now. I'm going to give them one more chance. And if anyone has any questions for the applicant, okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if we can call the case.
ULDC Amendment 14-01, American Towers LLC of Woburn, Massachusetts, care of Ellen W. Smith, with Holt Nay of Atlanta, Georgia, requests an amendment to the Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 7, Standards for Accessory and Temporary Uses, Section 7.05.00 Wireless Communication Facilities, in accordance with Sections 12.02.11 and 12.03.00 of the Unified Land Development Code.
Okay, do I have a motion for this case?
I'd like to make a motion to approve based on staff recommendation of the applicant's request to amend the ULDC Section 77-05-03 Administrative Approval for WCF, 7-05-04 Administrative Review Process, 7-05-05 WCF. Application non-administrative approval. 7-05-07 effective of need report, evidence of need report. Visual impact assessment. 7-05-09 development standards. 7-05-11 environmental standards. 7-05-13 prohibited conditions of approval, currently entitled conflicts with other laws. 11-01-06 regulation of Pacific non-conforming structures. 12-02-06 requirements for permits, Amendment A, and to add ULDC Section 7-05-14 conflicts with other laws, as outlined in the proposed modification to strike through an underlined format. No, that's a lot, but
That's all right. You have a second. Have a motion by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second? Have a second by Mr. Alexander. Any discussion on this motion? All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carried. Thank you. Call for the second case.
CU-14-09, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, request a conditional use for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road in land lot 220 of the 12th District. The request is for a car wash within the Fairview Overlay District, Commission District 5. The report be presented by Stacy Jordan.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure to stand before you tonight. Thank you. The applicant is proposing a car wash on 1 acre of the parcel at 5490 Flakes Mill Road. Car wash is considered a durable consumer good and is permitted in the C2 zoning district. Because the subject property is zoned RA, the applicant is also requesting a rezoning from RA to C2. The subject property is located within the conventional suburban character area of the Fairview Road Overlay District. The district establishes the conditional use process, which is a special use permit for car wash specifically. Therefore, the applicant is also requesting a conditional use running concurrently with this request. The request for the C2 and the car wash is consistent with the conventional suburban character area of the Fairview Road Overlay District. However, the future land use map indicates office uses for the subject property. Therefore, the applicant is requesting an amendment to the future land use map of the comprehensive plan to change the designation from office to commercial, and that's the purpose of this case that's being heard at this time. The applicant's development will be required to meet the requirements of the overlay district. And please note that the subject property is located here on Flakes Mill Road, south of the property zone C3 that is currently developed for many warehouses. And it's a part of the subject property that's indicated by the shading in white, which indicates the RA, residential agricultural. This map indicates the future land use map designation. And it's rather small because it's a 1 acre portion, but it's in the hatched area that's indicated in the purple there. And so the applicant's request is to rezone this from RA to C2. General commercial. So the staff is recommending approval of the request for the special permit for the car wash with the conditions that are indicated in your staff report. The first condition states that the conditional use shall only be effective with a commercial zoning designation for the subject property of C2 or C3 should the request RZ 1409 that is running concurrently with the conditional use request be denied for C2 or C3 by the Board of Commissioners, the conditional use approval is voided. And the reason for this condition is that the conditional use is a special permit within the C2, and if the board chooses to not approve the C2 or C3, because C2 uses are automatically allowed in C3, then the special permit should go away. The second condition that's recommended by staff is that the entrance is to be located so that the minimum intersection site distance is met per the road's posted speed limit and shall be located so that the minimum spacing requirements are maintained as required by ordinance or as allowed by variance. Number 3 states that the developer shall coordinate with the Henry County Department of Transportation regarding the design and construction of a deceleration lane / acceleration taper to Henry County DOT standards. This may require acquisition of additional easement or right-of-way by the developer, as well as possible relocation of utilities. And finally, the 4th recommended condition is, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, no zoning conditions imposed herein shall be interpreted or implied in such a manner so as to require any violation of any existing building, development, stormwater, or any other applicable codes.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Does does the board have any questions or comments they need to ask the staff at this time? Okay, if I get the applicant to please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's David Williams. I live in Franklin, North Carolina at 1835 Bates Branch Road.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to add to staff comments and for the board? Okay.
No, ma'am.
At this time, I would like to ask if any of the board members have any questions for the applicant.
Yes, sir. I do have a question. On the plan, it is stated that there's a large area for trucks and for motorhomes. Is it a desire to attract that type of tractor trailers potentially to the area?
That's not my target clientele, especially not tractor trailers. Motorhomes, I wouldn't mind local people being able to wash their motorhomes there, but tractor trailers are going to be more of a nuisance and tear up the asphalt than they would something I'd want. I don't have issue with doing away with that if I need to, just because it's not that much revenue. It's more as a convenience for the neighborhood than it is for something I'd want.
Thank you.
I have a question. Now, what type of car wash do you visualize? What do you have? What's the plan for this?
2 automatic bays where you drive up and drive in, and then the machine, it's a touchless water system where the water sprays off your car, and then you drive out and it dries it. And then 3 manual bays where you wash with a wand.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And what's the proposed size of those bays?
Size of the bays?
Yes.
For the automatics would be 15 feet wide and 40 feet long, and that's to accommodate the equipment. And for the manuals, it'd be 24 feet long and 15 feet wide. With a door height of about 10 feet, so a tractor trailer can't get inside of those.
Okay.
Or a motorhome, as far as that goes.
So the open bays, they don't have the roofs on them?
Everything except for the one he mentioned has a roof on it, and that one's on the end of the building. But I don't have an issue with doing away with that if that's the desire of the board.
Okay. Anybody else have any other board members have any questions for the applicant? Okay.
I'd like to say something.
Okay, Mr. Heck.
Environmental piece of it. Would we recycle the water?
We've talked about that for energy conservation, and it would probably be beneficial just because of the tap-on fees and that sort of thing to do that. As far as I know, it's not required.
I know that there's drainage requirements by, I think, Henry County Water, if I'm not mistaken. So I know that there's situations for that they work real closely with car washes. So I do know that there's some requirements there, for whatever. I'm not really sure what they are. I don't know if we have anybody here from the Water Authority to answer that question or not. But I'm sure that they have environmental standards that they would have you to meet. Mm-hmm. So anyone else have any questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case. Seeing no one come up, I'm going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of the case. Okay, I'd like to ask the applicant to please come back up to the podium. Any other questions or comments for the applicant? So it's my understanding, my question is, you wouldn't have any problem with us putting a restriction on tractor trailers?
Not at all.
So they wouldn't attract that in the community? Okay,
Right.
just for clarification. Okay, thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
Okay, can we call the case?
Case number CU-14-09, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, requests a conditional use for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road in land lots 220 of the 12th District. The request is for a car wash within the Fairview Road Overlay District, and it is in Commission District 5.
Okay, can I get a motion for this case?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use with staff 4 recommendation with 2 additional recommendation. One is that it meet all the requirements of the overlay committee, which is including any sidewalks or whatever the requirements are for overlay. And condition 6 would be that bays are constructed for passenger vehicles only and not constructed for heavy equipment or large trucks or tractor trailers.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Risher. Any discussion? No discussion. All those in favor indicate by the raising of your hand. Motion carried unanimously. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, case number 3.
CU-14-08. Please forgive me if I mispronounce this name. Ulila Yayeve? And again, please forgive me if I butchered that. Of Locust Grove, Georgia, requests a conditional use for a property located at 2001 Weems Road in land lot 238 of the 3rd District. The property consists of 9.382 plus minus acres, and the request is for a non-commercial kennel.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and board members. Good evening. This request is for a conditional use to allow the subject property located at 2001 Reams Road, that's located in Locust Grove, Georgia, to have a non-commercial kennel. Reams Road is a local road, dirt road. The subject property is currently zoned RA, residential agricultural, according to the Henry County official zoning map. A review of zoning files indicates that there have been no previous zoning actions or requests for the subject property. The applicant's request suits and meets all the requirements within the Unified Land Development Code regulations for non-commercial kennels. The subject property consists of 9.382, give or take, acres. According to the pre-application meeting held between the applicant and staff, the request consists of housing 10 of the applicant's dogs on the property, which the dog houses will be located on the southwestern portion of the property. The applicant currently has 6 of her dogs there. The approved conditional use would allow up to 10 dogs on the property. The property's rear has a heavy tree buffer. Planning staff is unaware of any binding agreements for specific limitations or conditions that may or may not have been made by the applicant with the surrounding property owners, so such a property is not within a subdivision. With that information, planning staff recommends approval of the conditional use request with one condition.
Okay, do the board members have any questions for the staff at this time? Okay, I would like to ask the applicant to please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yulia Matvieva. I live on 2001 Weems Road in Locust Grove, Georgia. And I'm sorry, I have a bit of cold going on.
It's okay. Do you have anything you would like to add to the staff's comment?
I just wanted to add that I've been working with dogs my entire life, and I don't plan to increase the number of dogs or build anything extra. I just wanted to comply with the rules and regulations of the Henry County, and this is why we are applying for the for the conditional use. And this is a picture of one of the kennels. It's each dog has a large kennel, and yeah, it's the barn was already there in existence. We just added the runs for dogs to exercise.
Okay. Do staff members have any questions for the applicant? Not staff, I'm sorry, board members?
Yes, have code enforcement ever been out to your house?
I believe they were when they took pictures of the property, but apparently I wasn't there because I haven't met with them.
So no citations, anything been issued?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I was looking at, they said that you have no, you're not going to put any concrete.
No.
So the waste, how would that be handled?
Well, in each kennel there is just dirt and sand, so it's just a natural drainage from the dirt and sand. And as far as solids, we pick them up, and dispose of them in plastic bags.
Anyone else have any questions or comments to for the applicant? Any of the board members? On this picture, it looks like there's paving or something. It looks like what is that?
Yes, ma'am. On the edges there is like a border of paving stones. It's just so that the dogs don't dig under the fencing and get out. And plus it just makes it more neat and keeps it clean.
So the sand and the gravel, that's the middle part that we
Right.
see there? Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that whole area is not the paving stone, it does have the ground like you
It's just
said?
ground, right.
Okay. And what do you plan to do with these pets?
I train them and show them. We travel to a lot of shows. We have 2 big shows going on in October. And generally, just maintaining the breed. It's always been my passion.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case. If you want to speak in favor of the case, please come forward. State your name and address, but I don't see anyone coming up. All right, we'll allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of the case. Okay, I don't see anyone coming up. I would like the applicant to please come back up to the podium. This would be our last chance to ask you any other questions that we may.
And I do have one question, that is, what type of training? What are you training these dogs for?
It's called Schutzhund. It's the specific training for this breed of dogs, the German Shepherds, and so it's a German type of training which includes tracking, obedience, and protection.
Okay, tracking, obedience, and protection.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when you train them for that, I mean, what do you sell? I mean, are they sold or are they?
No, I just train them because in a German way of doing this type of thing, the dogs should be trained. It's like a philosophy that they should be trained, and so I train them just for the purpose of them having the title, and yeah, they're my own dogs. I don't train them to sell.
To sell or anything. Okay, we're just trying to make sure. Okay, all right, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Would like to call the case?
CU 14-08, Yulia Matyeyeva of Locust Grove, Georgia, requests a conditional use for property located at 2001 Weems Road in land lot 238 of the 3rd District. The property consists of 9.382 plus minus acres, and the request is for a non-commercial kennel, and it is located in Commission District 1.
We do have a motion for this case.
Do it based upon the recommendation that here.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Recommendation that we passed.
Oh, to approval? Okay. So we have a recommendation for approval of this case by Mr. Head. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second by Mr. Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous, and the motion carries. Thank you. Case number 4. Oh, number 4 has been tabled. Excuse me.
Correct.
Thank you. Case number 5.
COMP-AM-14-03, Wayne Bagley of Atlanta, Georgia, requests an amendment to the comprehensive plan for properties located on the east and west sides of Fortson Road, the north and south sides of Lower Woolsey Road, west of Highway 1941 and Richard Petty Boulevard, north of Spalding County line, and east of the Clayton County line, partially located within the Atlanta Motor Speedway Activity Center, and land lots 255 and 256 of the 6th District, and land lots 13 through 19, 45 through 51, and 78 through 83 of the 3rd District. The request is to amend the future land use designation and is located in Commission District 2.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members. The applicant's request that is before you is a comprehensive plan amendment for approximately 2,895 plus or minus acres. The property is located and has road access to Highway 1941, Lower Woolsey Road, Fortson Road, and Richard Petty Boulevard. The applicant does have multiple requests as it relates to amending the future land use map. The applicant's first request is to be removed from the Atlanta Motor Speedway Activity Center. The applicant currently has 9 parcels located within the activity center that they would like to have removed. Out of those 9 parcels, 4 of those parcels are located wholly in the county. 2 are located partially in the county and in the city of Hampton, while the remaining 3 acres are wholly located in the city of Hampton. While this request is not to change any of the properties located within the city limits of Hampton, it is important to show the relationship between the properties owned by the applicant. In evaluating the applicant's request, staff determined that the entire activity center should be evaluated versus just the parcels owned by the applicant. Therefore, staff began evaluating the entire activity center and is recommending multiple amendments to the comp plan and future land use map. In reviewing the applicant's request, we looked at the center's typology and current development trends. Staff is of the opinion, instead of just removing the applicant's pieces from the activity center, that the activity center should be removed in its entirety. The reasoning behind removing the activity center is based on the fact that during the initial review of the comp plan, and more specifically each activity center, the consultant who did the comp plan only looked at what was developed at the time of review and never took into consideration what was currently zoned or under construction, thus leaving us with activity centers that have developed inconsistently with the typology proposed for each center. This particular activity center has approximately 2,602 acres, of which 405 acres are located within the city of Hampton, and should not have been indicated on the county's future land use map as part of the activity center. In staff's review, staff determined that removing the activity center would be in the best interest of the county, based on the way that the activity center has developed. Currently, there's approximately 1,211 acres zoned for non-residential, or 55%, and then 986 plus or minus acres zoned for residential, for approximately 44%. The typology would require for 65% to be non-residential, 15% to be residential, 5% civic, and 15% open space. Staff doesn't believe that based on those typologies that are in place, that the remaining property that's currently not developed would develop in a manner to support the open space and the civic in place of the residential or non-residential that is there, therefore leading staff to its determination of removing that activity center in its entirety. Moving on to the second part of the applicant's request, their request is to amend specific land designations for parcels owned by the applicant. As illustrated in your staff report, the parcels that are shown on the overhead, the applicant is requesting to amend multiple designations on the future land use map to include industrial land use categories, commercial land use categories, and some high-density residential categories. Currently, the future land use map designates this property, some for rural residential, some for commercial, some for high-density, but none at this time for industrial. In reviewing the applicant's request for this approximate 3,000 acre amendment, we took into consideration the existing trends that are in the area. As you'll notice right there in what's identified as 5 on the map abuts the Henry County Airport, and the applicant is proposing that to be for future industrial. It's a staff's opinion based on the applicant's request that an industrial land use would be an appropriate use in that close proximity to the airport. It would also help identify some additional needs that may need to be encountered through the airport that would be easier obtained as an industrial zoning or an industrial designation instead of multiple residential units in that area. The proposed change of removing the activity center as well as the applicant's proposal to change the designations to industrial, high density, and commercial are not, in staff's opinion, unduly detrimental to any of the property owners within the activity center, as they'd be afforded the same opportunity to apply for a comp plan amendment to change their designation as saw fit by the board. Nor does staff feel that the requested change in the future land use map designations is unreasonable or unduly detrimental to the surrounding areas. While staff doesn't necessarily completely agree with the amount of high-density residential being proposed by the applicant, staff does feel that high-density residential could benefit the area should the proposed industrial land use as designated be approved to support more of a mixture of housing in an area where you would have some large job providers, some large employers. With that, staff did recommend approval of this comprehensive plan amendment with 3 conditions. Those conditions are identified on the overhead. The first condition being that the removal of the Atlanta Motor Speedway Activity Center designation from the future land use map. Number 2 would be to delete all references within the Henry County City's Joint Comprehensive Plan Community Agenda related to the Atlanta Motor Speedway Activity Center. And then condition number 3 would be to amend the future land use map designations for the subject properties as illustrated on attachment A, the previous slide on the overhead. I'll answer any questions that the board has at this time.
Thank you, Jeremy. The board members have any questions for Jeremy regarding this case? Okay, I would like to ask the applicant to please come forward at this time. State your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and board members. My name is Wayne Bagley, and I'm the applicant for the Comp Plan Amendment 14-03, address 3350 Riverwood Parkway, Atlanta, Georgia. I'd like to say that we've put a lot of time and effort in meeting with the Henry County planning officials, the Development Authority, the Henry County Water and Sewer Authority, state and regional officials that consider this a target site for Metro Atlanta, especially with the airport in the area that's there. And we've also met with our district commissioner. And so far, we've had a tremendous amount of support for what we're trying to do here. During those discussions, we discovered, and we did not know, that the activity center inclusion was in place, and that happened in 2009. which, as Jeremy stated, the current component percentage, it couldn't be supported as currently designated. Although we only wanted to have our specific properties removed, we're in full support of the staff recommendation to eliminate it entirely because it just doesn't make sense at this point. As you can see, we're a unique property. Could possibly have that map back up there. Not many pieces around that have this much adjacent land that has this much potential. We feel like it's in a great area for the potential that we see here for the industrial. One thing that we'd like to keep in mind that the size of the industrial request does not necessarily represent true usable land mass. There are several utility easements that run in crisscross. You have the land application site for Henry County adjacent to us. There's also the potential of the extension of Georgia Highway 20, which would eat up quite a bit of property. So the reason that we have such a large area is that by the time all that's said and done, you still got to have enough room for a big building and a big development. So in all reality, although it looks like a lot of industrial property, a lot of it would probably be eaten up with infrastructure. We carefully consider the new roads and infrastructure, the current topographical and utility restraints, and most importantly, what we considered was end user trends that are requiring much larger areas to accommodate their needs. And that seems to be what's happening nationwide. And we want to be able to compete with that. So a tremendous amount of effort has defined these areas for the industrial zoning. In regard to the residential component, as it currently exists, there was an HDR residential area, and I think we could see that there. And obviously that did make a lot of sense, being right there where the possible extension of the 4-lane as well as the Richard Petty Boulevard. So what we decided to do was, rather than eliminate the residential component altogether, we shifted it to the southern portion of the property, which goes down to the Spalding County line, which made sense for a transition from industrial to residential to rural, which is common. We kept the high-density residential component because it was there before, although it is a little bit larger piece. We'd like to also keep in mind that this is a land use designation. It is not a rezone request, and that's important. What we're trying to do here is create a package, an overall development scheme that would be most attractive to your international and your national end users out there. A lot of people, if they see it as it is, will never know they even looked. But if they see it somewhat like this, there's a good possibility they may come our way. So trying to create a attractive package for Henry County. That area, as we well know, is prime for this type of development. And I'd like to thank you for your consideration. And if you got any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay, do any of the board members have any questions for the applicant at this time? Okay, I don't think they have any questions for you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
We're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. Okay, we're going to allow, though I didn't see anyone coming up, so we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of this case. Alrighty. So if I can ask the applicant to please come back to the... If you didn't get your exercise today, you're going to get it tonight. How about that? Does anyone else, does anyone have any further questions that you can think of for the applicant? Okay. We don't have anything for you, so you may be seated.
Thank you.
You did a great job presenting your case. At this time, we'd like to call the case.
COMP-AM-14-03, Wayne Bagley of Atlanta, Georgia, requests an amendment to the comprehensive plan for properties located on the east and west sides of Fortune Road, the north and south sides of Lower Woolsey Road, west of Highway 1941 and Richard Petty Boulevard, north of the Spalding County line and east of the Clayton County line, partially located within the Atlanta Motor Speedway Activity Center in land lots 255 and 256 of the 6th District, and land lots 13 through 19, 45 through 51, and 78 through 83 of the 3rd District. The request is to amend the future land use designation, and it's located in Commission District 2, and it was presented by Mr. Jeremy Gilbert.
Okay, can I get a motion for this case?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the request for COMP-AM-14-3003, as recommended by staff with the 3 conditions as previously stated.
Okay, I have a motion by Ms. Nesbitt. Do I have a second? Have a second by Mr. Risher. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. The motion carried unanimously. Motion carried. Okay.
COMP-AM-14-04, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, request an amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road in land lots 220 of the 12th District. The request is to amend the future land use designation from office to commercial and is located in Commission District 5 and will be presented by Mr. Stacy Jordan.
Good evening again, Board. The applicant's subject property is located here on Flakes Mill Road, and it's part of a larger 10-acre tract that extends to the south to the property that's already designated in the red shade for commercial and services. The applicant's request is to change the future land use map designation for the subject property to also show as the red shade, which indicates commercial and services. The staff recommends, as indicated in your staff report, approval of the applicant's request to amend the future land use map designation of the subject property 071-01-007-000 from office to commercial, but also to go further and to amend the future land use map designation of the remainder of parcel 071-01-007-000 from office to commercial to form a contiguous block.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Do any of the board members have any questions for staff at this time?
Stacey, I do have a question. That is, being that this is in the activity center, does it exceed the requirements for commercial or not?
There's a typology for the activity centers, and the Fairview Activity Center is the category that we call a specialty use type activity center. The typology for specialty use is for 65% to be non-residential uses. And at this time, only 53% of the Fairview Activity Center is designated for non-residential purposes.
And if this section is approved, where would that percentage be?
That is a great question, but keep in mind also that the current designation for the subject property is office, and office is a non-residential designation. Okay. So it will not change, but it will not exceed the typology either.
Okay. That's it.
So it won't go over the 65% because it's the same as it is today?
That is correct.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board members to staff? Okay, will the applicant please come forward? State your name and address again for the record.
Hello, David Williams, Franklin, North Carolina, Bates Branch Road.
Okay, do any of the board members have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Nelson?
Yes, Ms. Wheaton, now, do you currently own this property, or are you leasing this property?
My
selling this-
mother owns this property. I grew up there. We moved there in 1968 and have lived there since then.
Okay. And the proposal is to sell the property to build this on, or are you?
No, I'm gonna build it.
Okay.
I actually built the mini warehouses to the north of it as well.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant from the board members? Okay, you may be seated. Thank you. At this time, we're going to give 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. Okay, I don't see anyone coming up, and we'll allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition. Okay, I don't see anyone coming up. All right, I need for you to come back up, please. This is our last chance to ask the applicant a question about this case. All right, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Call the case.
COMP-AM-14-04, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, requesting amendment to the comprehensive plan for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road in land lots 220 of the 12th District. The request is to amend the future land use designation from office to commercial. It is located in Commission District 5 and was presented by Mr. Stacy Jordan.
Okay, do I have a motion for this case?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, amend the flume designation of the subject property 071-01-007-00 from office to a commercial, amend the flume designation of the remainder of the partial 071-01-007-00 from office to commercial.
Okay, I have a motion for approval. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Alexander. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. That's a unanimous motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7.
RZ-14-07, Papagayo Partners, forgive me if I butchered that, LLC of McDonough, Georgia, requests a rezoning from RA, residential agricultural, to R2, single-family residential, for property located on the south side of Rogers Road, west of Airline Road, in land lot 151 of the 7th District. The property consists of 4.035 plus-minus acres, and the request is for a residential subdivision. It is located in Commission District 3 and will be presented by Mr. Jeremy Gilbert.
Good evening, Madam Chair and board members again.
Good evening.
The request that is before you is a rezoning request from RA to R2, single-family residential. Property is 4.03 plus or minus acres. As you can see on the overhead, the property in the surrounding areas, there are a number of properties that are zoned RA residential agricultural currently, and then there are some properties that are zoned R2 single-family residential, and then some that are located within the city of McDonough. The applicant is requesting to rezone the 4.03 plus or minus acres for the purpose of a minor subdivision. The applicant is proposing 4 lots on 4.035 plus or minus acres with a minimum lot size of 38,264 square feet. The applicant's request to develop a single-family residential minor subdivision is consistent with the future land use map designation for the subject property, which is low-density residential. Land use is at up to 2.0 dwelling units per acre. We did receive correspondence from the Henry County Board of Education dated June 16, 2004, that stated the proposed development will generate approximately 12 students for Ola High, Middle, and Ola Elementary collectively. According to the form, the additional students would result in the need for 1 additional classroom that would be absorbed into their current facilities. Planning staff did review the applicant's request based on its consistency with the future land use map, as well as the Unified Land Development Code for the R2 zoning district. Staff does recommend approval of the applicant's request. with 4 zoning conditions. Those conditions are here on the overhead. I'll answer any questions the board will have.
Do the board members have any questions for the staff?
I have one question, Jeremy. Based on the current zoning, what's the max number of structures that can be built on this property?
Based on the current RA residential agricultural zoning district, they could do 3 lots because it wouldn't be considered a subdivision at that point. Be a minimum lot size of 1 acre, 175-foot lot width in that 4.035 acres.
Okay.
So they could do a 3-lot division under the RA zoning district.
And under the rezoning, he's requesting 4.
Correct. Under the rezoning, he's looking for a 4th lot.
Okay.
Anyone else have any questions for staff? Okay, would like the applicant to please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Royce Grant. The address is 126 North Bethany Road, McDonough, Georgia. Good evening, Board. I'm here tonight in reference to the rezoning for Papagayo Partners from RA to R2. And as the site plan stated, just looking for the 4 lots. I haven't had a chance to read the staff recommendations for approval. If I could just read those for a second, I'd appreciate that.
Usually we have Jeremy to read those.
Okay. Yeah, I have no issues with those at all. What I'd like to propose is we're wanting to build a craftsman style home on all 4 lots. What I would like to propose would be a 2,000 square foot minimum heated square footage size. We'd like the fronts to be craftsman, and we'd like some flexibility on the 3 sides of the home. We have some buyers that are wanting, craftsman on the front and 3-side brick, but we also have buyers that want craftsman front with 3-side hardy plank or a shaker plank. So if you could work with me, I'd love some flexibility on those 3 remaining sides. But on the front, we'd like to use, a combination of brick, stone, hardy plank, shaker plank, cedar plank, and board and batten.
Okay, you have any other comments for the
No,
board? Any of the board members have any comments or questions for the applicant at this time? Mr. Risher.
I have a question. Are you building the 3 homes that are on the north side of Rogers Road across from this property?
No, sir, that's Meredith Homes that is
Okay.
building those 3.
That's all I have for the moment.
Okay, and my question is, why did you specifically ask that it be a craftsman style? And then you change the square footage minimum? Or was
Well,
it changed?
I guess, the code is for 1,600 square foot for the R2, and that's obviously, I think, too small. So I would like just to offer a 2,000 square foot because I think that would be more amenable to the area.
Okay.
We want to be competitive in the market, and we have, we've got Bridal Ridge, which is kind of diagonal to this, and which is in the city of McDonough, and they're doing a 4-side hardy plank there, and so we kind of want some flexibility to be competitive in the market.
And I'm just trying to envision that area of does it fit in what's already in the area as far as the homes that are surrounding that area?
Yes, ma'am. I think it would. Yes, ma'am.
So I didn't know if they're all, if it's all brick homes in the area or if it's craftsman style type homes.
I think in that area you have a little bit of mix. You have some older brick homes. Then you have some that are front brick, 3-side vinyl. So we've got a really broad array of homes in that. Now there is a development further east on Rogers Road, which was zoned R2, and I don't know the year it was done, but I think that one's about to come out of the ground and go vertical with a builder. And I don't believe there's any facade control on that one at all. So I just want to make sure that we're able to be competitive on these 4 lots. If they were to build an all vinyl product there, it'd be really hard for me to go to an all brick product.
And Jeremy, I apologize. the question I have is, if this is considered a development, residential development, would they not have to have a centralized postage area?
Because it's just a minor subdivision with no interior streets, it would be no different than just a standard lot on that roadway, and the Postal Service has been issuing standard mailboxes for just independent lots that aren't putting in new infrastructure.
Okay, okay. Oh, that's all the questions that I had. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to hear comments from the public, and we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of this case. Okay. And we're also going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition. So if you want to speak in opposition, please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name's Rocky Lowe. I live at 432 Rogers Road. Rogers Road's just over a mile long, and most of the homes on Rogers Roads are RA, and they have large lots and all. My concern is that will these homes be consistent with what's on the rest of the street? And the way it's being built, if all the driveways are coming into Rogers Road there, what kind of traffic issues is that going to cause? I think it's going to put a burden on that street. We are pretty comfortable with our RA zoning over there, so that's all I got to say on that. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition of the case?
My name is David Hips. I live at 420 Rogers Road, and we've heard the impact on the schools from these 4 houses, but what you also need to take into consideration is that there's already been approved for, there's going to be 34 houses right down the street from this. There's 3 houses being built across the street from this. So we're looking at 41 new homes on this little old Rogers Road. Now that may not sound like a lot, but to me, that's 80-something cars that's going to be going up and down that road too. So I just hope that you will just kind of take in consideration of the whole concept of what we look at. We've been living there for 20 years, and I know there's not a lot we can do about, I know the land does qualify for R2, but why not make it just a R1 or leave it an RA? Build 3 houses instead of 4, if that's what it takes. But I just thought you might want to know what else is going on in the area too.
Thank you. We have some more time left. Okay, anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case?
I didn't know how to form, but the more I listened to him, the more upset I got.
Okay, state your name and address.
My name is Debbie Pippin. I live at 449 Rogers Road. I've been there for 30 years. The only reason we bought the property is that they were bigger lots, at least an acre or more. My concern is they're going to put 4 lots in. He says 4 acres, and it's going to be that way. I could see putting 3 homes maybe in that 4 acres to be consistent with R1. Why can't they do a R1 to have at least an acre lot? We've been there on that road for a long time. He said that there's a lot of houses on that road that are R2. There are some right across the street from me, 3 homes that are R2, but there's no more homes that I am aware of that are R2. And then I'm concerned, as he is, about the other houses that they're building right across the street from where this is. So I'm concerned about the traffic. How's it going to affect my home value? What kind of taxes are going to be, and environmentally, and that's a high density, and that's actually a cross-through road from Bethany, from Rosser to Bethany. There's going to be a lot more traffic there. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case?
Hello, board. My name is Chad Looney. I live on 260 Ross Road, which is adjacent to this property. I'm concerned with the Rogers Road is a very narrow road. They'll be seeing a lot more traffic from the development. I believe it was 30 houses or whatever that was, and then plus these, and also the intersection of Lakedale Road, Rosser Road, and Rogers Road is a very hairy intersection, to say the least. It's not very well planned out for all of the vehicles that travel on it every day. So that is one of my concerns as well. It's a very dangerous area right there. So thank you.
We have a little bit more time left. Anyone else would like to speak in opposition of the case? Okay, I don't see anyone else coming up. If I could ask the applicant to please come back up. You heard some of the concerns of the folks that live in the area. And so I want to give you time to address that as far as, and anything else you would like to add, comments to the board. But right now, I'd like to give the board an opportunity to ask you a question based on what they've heard,
Sure.
some of the comments. And then that will give you a chance to answer their questions. Anyone have any questions for the applicant at this time? Any board members?
I have a question. Are the yards going to have sod?
Yes, ma'am. What I'd like to offer is that all the yards would have sod to the rear drip line. Right now, these lots, the entire 4 acres is wooded in probably 30-year-old pine trees. So we'd like to leave as many trees as possible when we build the homes. So that's why we just asked for a sod to the rear drip line versus the entire lot, because most of the sod would die being in the shade of the pine trees if we had to sod the entire lot.
So repeat what you said, where you wanted the, I'm sorry.
I'd be comfortable with having sod to the rear drip line.
Okay.
Just a few things I'd like to point out as well.
I'm sorry, I don't
Okay.
mean to cut you off, but at this time, it's the board that's going to ask you questions. And
Okay.
if we don't ask you the questions, the comment period is over. So
Okay.
I can't allow you to add anything else, because then I'd have to open it up for opposition. So it's just from the comments that were presented, the board sometimes will have other questions that they may
Okay.
want to ask you. And I think I had one, and I can't remember what it was. So are you immediately across from the development that's going to have the 30 homes on
No,
it?
ma'am. That would be east on Rogers Road.
Okay, so can staff show me where that is in proximity? You showed me earlier, and then I just, okay. Okay. So it's on the same side, or it's on the opposite side?
Opposite side.
Okay, I see. All right.
And as far as traffic, there is a proposal to extend Airline Road. And Airline Road would extend from where it currently dead ends to line up with Highway 81 and Old Jackson Road. I'm not sure where the process is with the DOT on that, but that would alleviate a lot of traffic on Rogers Road once that project is performed.
Okay, do board members have any other questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have a comment about Airline Road. Actually, when there was a couple of homes built on the north side of Highway 81 east several years ago, there was an arrangement that that the owners would leave a gap where the county could acquire some right-of-way in the future to affect that extension. I don't think there's any immediate plans through the SPLOST program anytime soon, so I expect that's quite some time away. Let me ask you this: would you consider anything above your 2,000 square foot minimum? I say this because I know for a fact that the home that's being built across the street now, that's about 2,650 square feet. The homes in the woods at Lake Dow, I found out that that their minimum was from 18,000 or rather 1,800 square feet to up to to up to 3,500 square feet in some cases. And then the subdivision that's in the city, I think it's Briarwood, it's called. I think most of those homes are about 2,800 square feet. So I think there is a precedence for larger homes in that area.
I think I could probably go up to 2,200 square feet. If I get above 2,200 square feet, it kind of limits me on plans. Now, will there be larger homes built? Possibly. It's just really what the market can bear. So, I mean, I'm comfortable going up to a 2,200 square foot minimum, but that's kind of getting up there for me, but I am comfortable with that. And I do want to point out that with the development on Rogers that's further east, I don't believe there's any requirement on square footage there, and I just want to make sure that I'm competitive.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant? From board members? Okay, you may be seated. Let's call the case.
RZ-14-07 Papagayo Partners LLC of McDonough, Georgia. Request a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to R2 Single Family Residential for property located on the south side of Rogers Road, west of Airline Road, in land lot 151 of the 7th District. The property consists of 4.035 plus minus acres, and the request is for a residential subdivision in Commission District 3 and was presented by Mr. Jeremy Gilbert.
Okay, do I have a motion for this case? Mr. Risher?
Yes, I do. I would like to recommend a motion to approve the request with the 4 conditions noted by the staff in their report that says each driveway shall be located at such that the minimum intersection sight distance is met per the posted speed limit, and that would have to be determined by the Henry County DOT. And it says that should any driveway require driveway pipe, which I'm sure that they would, that the pipe shall be required to have a safety flared end sections on each end of the pipe. And of course, it says that a final plat would be required since this is a minor subdivision. And the 4th condition being, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, no zoning conditions imposed shall be interpreted or applied in a manner so as to require any violations of existing building development, stormwater, and any other applicable codes. I would also like to add 2 additional conditions. That the front elevations shall be Craftsman-style front consisting of brick, stone, cement fiberboard, or some combination of these materials. The remaining 3 sides shall consist of brick. Vinyl-based products are only permitted on the soffits, eaves, and fascia. The minimum heated floor space for each home shall be, and I'll say 2,400 square feet. Yards are to be constructed with sod to the drip line in order to preserve trees on the property.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Risher. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second by Mr. Nelson. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carried. Alrighty, case number 8.
HP Henry LLC of Stockbridge, Georgia requests a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Single Family Residential for property located on the south and east side of Carl Parker Road in land lots 135 and 154 of the 6th District. The property consists of 85.98 plus minus acres, and the request is for a residential subdivision and is located in Commission District 2 and will be presented by Mr. Jeremy Gilbert.
Good evening again, Madam Chair and board members. The request that is before you tonight is a rezoning for property located on the south and east side of Carl Parker Road. Property is currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential, and the applicant is requesting R2 Single Family Residential. The applicant is requesting to rezone a portion of this parcel number 01801039005, which is approximately 85.98 plus or minus acres. The applicant is proposing 78 lots. As you can see illustrated on the overhead, the proposed plan, the applicant is proposing a minimum lot size of 30,000 square feet on septic systems with a net density of 1.0. They are proposing 78 lots. The request to develop the single-family residential subdivision is consistent with the future land use map designation of the property of rural residential at up to 1 dwelling unit per acre. According to the comprehensive plan, Appendix C, page 4, the zoning comparison table lists the following zoning districts as appropriate zoning districts for the rural residential land use category: RA, R1, R2, R3, R4, and R5, so long as they stay within that up to 1 unit to the acre. Based upon the applicant's conceptual site plan, and the net density for the proposed development does meet those allowable densities in the rural residential land category. Planning staff did review the applicant's request, and based on its consistency with the R2 zoning district requirements in the Unified Land Development Code, as well as maintaining its consistency with the future land use map, staff did recommend approval. And staff recommends approval of this request with 11 conditions. Those 11 conditions have been placed on the overhead for your viewing, but I will briefly run through those for the listening audience. Condition number 1, all homes shall be built on site, no modular or manufactured homes, and they shall have 2-car side entry garages where feasible. All homes shall consist of all sides brick, stone, or any combination of 2 or more of the following materials on all sides: brick, stone, or cement fiberboard. Vinyl-based products are only permitted in the soffits, eaves, and fascia. Number 3, the development shall not exceed 1.0 dwelling units per acre. Condition number 4, all yards shall be sodded to the rear drip line of the house. Condition 5, underground utilities, street lights, and sidewalks shall be required. Condition 6, the entrance must be designed and located as to meet the minimum intersection sight distance based on the posted speed limit of Carl Parker Road. Condition 7, there shall be no clear cutting of the subject property. 8, the development shall have a centralized mailbox location. 9, all site curb cuts shall be located such that the minimum intersection sight distance is met per the road's posted speed limit of Carl Parker Collector Road. All curb cuts are to have deceleration lane acceleration tapers designed to Henry County DOT standards. Condition 10, per the ULDC, refer to GDOT criteria concerning left turn lane warrants to determine if a left turn lane along Carl Parker will be required for the respective curb cuts into the proposed subdivision. And then condition number 11, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, no zoning condition imposed shall be interpreted or implied in a manner so as to require any violation of an existing building, development, stormwater, or any other applicable codes. I'll answer any questions that the board may have.
Board members have any questions for Jeremy at this time? Okay, I would like to ask the applicant to please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Alex Mitchum with Falcon Design Group, Engineering and Surveying, speaking on behalf of the applicant at HB Henry. Staff set this up pretty well, won't rehash that. We have reviewed the 11 conditions and we are okay with those, so I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Do any board members have any questions for the applicant?
And looking at the development, I see, we see 78 homes there. I haven't seen any green space or anything set aside for quality of life as far as green space is concerned.
There are, per the code, we have set aside area for the required rec areas. The lots themselves are minimum 30,000 square feet, and which several of those are actually above that or acre and better. But as far as open space itself, green space, the site will be graded as such to fit the homes on there, and the remainder of the lots will not be touched. Again, it's just an effort to preserve the vegetation as much as possible, as for erosion sediment control purposes, also for have a nice setting for a home.
Anyone else have any questions for the applicant? All righty, hearing none, you may be seated. At this time, we're going to ask for comments from the public, and we'll allow 10 minutes for those to want to speak in favor of the case. Okay. Don't see anyone coming up. And we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of the case. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Cecil Hanna. I live at 105 Carl Parker Road. That's approximately right here at the end of this street. So all cars coming down that street will be headed directly at my house. That is a downward sloping road that will be draining all onto my property, which is already catching all the water that's on Carl Parker anyway. So I don't like the fact that there's two entrances to this. I would like to see this plan amended to only include the one entrance right here in the curve area that's going to be headed toward the back of, what is that, Quail Hollow subdivision. I think that it should remain R1 zoning instead of R2. I'm greatly concerned about the number of houses and the amount of traffic, as a lot of us out in that neighborhood love to bike as well as walk and jog and things of that nature. So traffic has greatly increased due to the Quail Hollow subdivision, and I can just see it getting, terribly bad if this were to go through just the way it is. So the less houses, the better. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Tabitha Varner. I would like to ask if you're going to be proactive concerning the schools and the roads. Jonesboro Road is already extremely heavy with traffic. There's more subdivisions going in there. There's more buildings more businesses going in there. Highway 3, Highway 81, Kohl's, JCPenney's, you've got that area. You've got more businesses going in there. Carl Parker is a cut through from Jonesboro Road to Highway 3 to 81. We've already got traffic just driving through for the purpose of driving through. As he stated, there's a lot of people with kids. We are out on the road. We're on a dead-end road. We use our dead-end road for recreation. We get together with other families. We bike, we walk. We want the safety. You've already got Quail Ridge to the left of us, and I'm not even sure, I don't know as far as the school density goes there. I believe that Mount Carmel and Dutchtown are both quite full. Are you going to be proactive, or are you going to wait until it's overcrowded to fix the problem if a whole bunch of kids move in that area? Quail Ridge is the only one, I believe, that's 3/4 of an acre. All the rest of us have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 acres. This is not consistent with what's around it except for one subdivision, Quail Ridge, that's it. All the rest of us have a lot more land, a lot more green space, a lot more trees. We moved out there for privacy. We moved out there in May of 2000. Jonesboro Road was nothing but trees when we moved out there. Lovejoy, there was no Walmart. It was trees. You're coming in on top of us. We're being surrounded, and we moved there for privacy, quiet, family time with neighbors we love, and we're being imposed upon. Septic tanks, I don't know about septic and sewer. I don't know how all that works. Again, the schools, the roads, our privacy, the quiet, there's no lights, there's no sounds, there's no traffic. That's why we're there, and we'd appreciate it if you'd consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Bill Underdown. I live at 211 Carl Parker Road, and that subdivision there is going to do nothing but turn Carl Parker Road into a main highway with all the cars coming through there. And how will that affect our property values if you're putting these houses on 3/4 of an acre and we're better than 2 acres out there? How's that going to affect our property value? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Okay, we've been at my name's Kimberly Miller from, and I live at 125 Twin Oaks Drive in Hampton. Kimberly Miller, and I live at 125 Twin Oaks Drive.
Twin Oaks Drive, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And we have lived there since 1987, and we have almost 6 acres. And I like what you said about the quality of life in the green space. And we already have deers running out because they're, you know, just building up. And anyhow, I actually work at Mount Carmel Elementary, and the school is full. And we had trailers at one time, and, you know, they did away with those. And anyhow, I would just appreciate, you know, taking all this in consideration. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else would like to speak in opposition of the case?
My name is Doug Johnson. I live at 652 Bailesville Road, which is just around the corner from this development. And I'm downhill from there. And all them septic tanks is going to pollute the creek that runs by my house. And I would rather see, if it's going to be a development, at least go to the R1, stay with it and develop it. But I don't see no reason to put that many houses on that little bit of land, because the roads can't handle it and the ground can't handle it. And I am very opposed to it. Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak in opposition of the case? Please come forward.
My name is Sayed Taft. I live in 340 Concord Road. I have a lake at there where the runoff going to go. It's already wetland where they're going to build the houses in this area. And I see they're building houses out there. Where the water going to go? And the traffic on Carl Parker Road already is too many, and you're putting 85 houses out there. That's really too much for that road. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case? Okay, we'd like the applicant to please come forward.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
My name's Carla LaQuire, 150 Twin Oaks Drive. Our house, I live on 10 acres, and it's about 2,500 square feet. And it's a little piece of heaven. And I don't want to lose that. We have deer, turkey, you name it. We've got it out there. And that's 101 acres of trees. The deer are already having a hard place to go, okay? They're everywhere. Our neighbor across the street has a Christmas tree farm. They're going over there eating his trees up. That's his way of living, okay? That's what he makes his living off of for about 4 weeks out of the year. If you keep running out the wildlife, cutting down trees, the weather gets worse. I'm sorry, I hate to sound like a tree hugger, but it's getting to be ridiculous. I just don't want to lose that little slice of heaven we have on this street. And if you do build houses, they need to be comparable to what we have on that street. There are bigger homes, bigger lots. Some of them are smaller, but some of us have 15, 14, 6, 9. They're all different sizes. They're all sliced differently. And there is a creek. I have a lake. Some other people have lakes. The Christmas Tree Farm has a lake. It's nice out there. And if you get a lot of homes out there and people have children, they're going to start coming out, and you're going to have to worry about all that. What if they get on your property and get in your lake? Then you're going to have to put a fence up everywhere. Everybody's going to have fences everywhere to prevent things. And it's going to be sad because things are changing. It's just scary. And the schools can't handle it anymore out there. I'm sorry, excuse me, I didn't mean to get emotional.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak in opposition of the case? Before I call the applicant back up. Okay, I don't see anybody coming up. All right. Now I'd like to have the applicant to please come forward. And this time, we're going to ask the board members if they have any questions for you, any other questions based upon what they've heard tonight.
Sure.
Any board members have any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. Is there going to be sewer out there, or is it going to be septic tank?
This is septic tank. There's no sewer in this area to serve. That would be something, if it were available, obviously we'd prefer to tie into that. Yes.
As far as I noticed they were talking about the schools. Were there? I didn't see anything in the staff report, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I missed it. Was there anything, Jeremy, or the applicant can answer that? Was any study done?
There is. The school board did. We received a form from the school board on July 24th, 2014 that states that the proposed development would generate approximately 192 students for Dutchtown High, Middle, and Mount Carmel Elementary collectively. Their form also indicated that at this time, all three schools listed are at capacity with no trailers on site. According to their form, the additional students would result in the need for 8 additional classrooms at a cost of approximately $2.4 million.
And I'm assuming that the taxes that will be collected with these homes would meet that need?
I'm assuming so. I mean, in the form that the school board submitted, they didn't state, how those, how that dollar figure would be accomplished. Rather, the $2.4 million would be building new facilities, whether it's, bringing in modular units or whatever those types of things is. They just give us some generalized information when they submit those forms back to us.
Okay, and my question to the applicant, you heard the concerns of those that are in the area, and their concerns about the traffic and the impact on the schools. Obviously, there's folks that want development, and then there's folks that want the serenity of, where they're living, and they move to certain areas. So how would you address some of the concerns that we've heard tonight as far as the impact on the schools and the road? Could you foresee, changing anything or making anything different, or just offering any suggestions or anything like that?
I'll just make this comment. I mean, we're sensitive to those comments as well. I mean, it'd all be nice for all of us to live on acreage. I think the majority of us would enjoy that. I grew up that way. I don't live on acreage now. I live in a subdivision very similar to this. Change is difficult. I mean, that's what it is. Being engineering and surveying that my firm is in, we deal with the stormwater issues that were brought up. That we have to maintain our own stormwater. We have to install the detention ponds. We can't turn water on to neighbors and that sort of thing. And that's that's what our license is there for. That's a big part of what we do. As far as traffic. Yeah, folks are using this as a cut through. They're probably traveling from one part of the county or another county through this area trying to get to work or whatever. We're trying to build homes for maybe folks who want to relocate here, and that way they don't have to drive as far. Maybe they don't, that sort of thing. Folks are looking at Henry County. It's a nice place to live, and this is a nice area, very much so. It's just difficult. I want to be careful what I say. As far as I don't want to offend anyone or say anything that, this is all very important. It's important to us too. We want to build a nice or develop a nice subdivision that home builders want to build a home that generates a tax base that will take care of the stuff such as schools and traffic improvements and intersection improvements and things of that nature, and not be a burden on the area.
My other question is, you said there were going to be recreational facilities. Is that like a pool, tennis courts?
Yes, ma'am.
Things like that? Okay,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
it's a pool, tennis courts. What is it?
What is required? I mean, I'm not sure what the developer will want to do exactly. I mean, it'd be a pool, clubhouse. What's required by code?
Right.
Yes.
And then there was someone alluded to there was a wetland, and I know that you can't build in a wetland.
Correct.
I mean, you have to do, some kind of like trade-off or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad
so explain that if you don't mind.
I'm glad you reminded that. And it's in this area right here that he was referring to, down in this area. If you'll notice, those are where the larger lots are located, because we cannot go into that area. We have to protect that area. Can't really disturb that. So that's the purpose of us shortening those streets and those lots being so large there, because that's, again, it's a sensitive area, and by law we have to take care of that area too.
Tell me about the road that goes into and I'm kind of pointing this, the longer one at the end, where the gentleman said that he, you know.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
I heard his
explain that
comment
to me.
too. I'm sorry, I meant to mention that one too. And Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong here, or someone on staff, I think we're, by the code, the way it's written now, we're required to have 2 entrances.
Okay, so you have to, I mean, that's by code. So it's
Yes,
not
ma'am.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Could, and it wouldn't be feasible to put it around the other way? I mean, I guess you've got that one long road that comes, I mean, I'm just trying to
Sure.
see which is, you know, if that's the best way, best place to put that. Is that, so that was, I'm, I guess, asking, you know,
Yeah.
staff.
I mean, the only thing that I can, add to that is the Unified Land Development code does require a subdivision that's greater than 50 lots. The fire code, the fire marshal's office requested, when we were doing the Unified Land Development Code, to have a secondary entrance, just for safety measures. As far as where that road, way could go in, I mean, right now, that's the only portion of the property that they're including in this rezoning that's coming in for this. I mean, I know I won't speak for the applicant, but they own the property to either side of it. I mean, I guess it could shift one way or the other, but it may change the alignment of the roadway and make the roadway unsafe, having a jog in the road at that point. It may not meet the intersection sight distance from DOT and things of that nature. So there may be some tweaking that has to be done during the final development stage. But again, the code's going to require there to be 2 entrances. I also wanted to add another note. I did hear some of the concerns of traffic on Jonesboro Road and traffic at 81 and various places. Just so the public knows, the Jonesboro Road is being widened. It is a project that's being done by the Georgia Department of DOT. They're estimated to do the construction of that road by 2020. I know that seems far away, but it is in the plans. It is being designed. The plans have been done, as well as through our SPLOST program. There are some projects that are being done along 81 that will help alleviate and help mitigate some traffic issues in that area.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Any other board members have questions for the
I have one additional question. How many additional houses are we building going from R1 to R2?
I do not know the answer to that question. I'm sorry.
Okay, Jeremy, do you know?
I mean, just doing the basic math on it, I mean, of course, it would take a reconfiguring of the road layout and lot layout, but doing a 1-unit density in R1, it's a minimum lot size of 1 acre versus the 30,000. Your lot yield may change a couple of lots. It's not going to vary by much based on the layout of the road network. I mean, the road network would have to change. If it stayed as is, you may lose 5 or 6 lots. It's hard to say, but if you just look at it based on acreage, and then you take out your typical 10% for road improvements, the lot numbers would stay virtually the same.
That's probably correct.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions for the applicant?
I'm concerned, could they have been a traffic study before?
A traffic study could be something that's done. I mean, our Unified Land Development Code has standards that if you generate a certain number of trips, that a traffic impact study is required. That's done during the development stage of it. When we sent this over to DOT for their cursor review for this, they didn't indicate that based on the number of homes that a traffic study would be warranted based on the requirements of the ULDC. But if it's something that this board thought needed to be added, I mean, it is something you could condition, but it would be going more than likely above and beyond what the code requirements require.
Okay, any other questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can call the case.
H.P. Henry LLC of Stockbridge, Georgia requests a rezoning from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Single Family Residential for property located on the south and east side of Carl Parker Road in land lots 135 and 154 of the 6th District. The property consists of 85.98 plus minus acres, and the request is for a residential subdivision in Commission District 2 and was presented by Mr. Jeremy Gilbert.
Okay, do I have a motion for this case?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the request RZ-14-08 as recommended by staff with the 11 conditions previously stated.
I have a motion by Ms. Nesbitt. Do I have a second? Okay, I don't have a second. All right. Mr. Secretary, yes.
Yeah, the motion failed. You would need another motion if there was no second.
Deny. I have a motion by Mr. Risher to deny the request. Do I have a second? I have a second, I'm sorry, by Mr. Bailey. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to deny indicate by raising your hand. Okay, all those opposed? Okay, the motion carried to. Next case, please.
RZ 14-09, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Commercial for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road, land lots 220 of the 12th District. The property consists of 1.0 plus minus acres, and the request is for a car wash.
Public.
And it's located in Commission District 5 and will be presented by Mr. Stacy Jordan.
Good evening, Board.
I'm going to have to ask everyone to please be quiet.
And this is the rezoning portion of the request of David Williams. Illustrated on the overhead and also in your staff report, there's a zoning map. The map indicates the subject property in the hatched area here at Flakes Mill Road. Immediately to the north, the subject property abuts property that's zone C3, which is currently developed for the mini warehouses. And to the east and the south, the subject property abuts the parent parcel, which will remain zoned RA. And further to the south is the intersection of Flakes Mill Road and Panola, which is very close to the intersection of Panola and Fairview Road. And that area is zoned predominantly C2. And the applicant's request is for C2. The staff recommends approval with 6 conditions. The first being that access to the site shall meet the minimum intersection site distance per the road's posted speed limit and shall be located so that the minimum spacing requirements are maintained as required by ordinance or as allowed by variance. The second condition is that the developer shall coordinate with the Henry County Department of Transportation regarding the design and construction of a deceleration lane / acceleration taper to Henry County DOT standards. This may require acquisition of additional easement or right-of-way by the developer, as well as possible relocation of utilities. The third condition is that the division of the subject property from the parent parcel, which is parcel 025-01-007-000, in substantial compliance with the survey submitted with the conditional use application and meeting the approval of the Environmental Compliance and Plan Review Department, shall be recorded before development plans are submitted. The fourth condition is that a 15-foot buffer shall be located along all property lines of the subject property adjacent to residentially zoned properties meeting the approval of the Environmental Compliance and Plan Review Department. The fifth condition is that the primary ground signage shall consist of a monument-based sign that is consistent in design with the primary structure and shall not exceed 8 feet in height. And finally, the sixth condition is, notwithstanding anything to the contrary herein, no zoning conditions imposed herein shall be interpreted or applied in such a manner so as to require any violation of any existing building, development, stormwater, or any other applicable codes.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. At this time, do board members have any questions for the staff?
Yeah, Stacy, I do have one question. On number 5, you indicate the 8 feet in height. The overlay, what was that number again?
Yes, the overlay limits the height of a ground sign to 10 feet. And so this condition is more restrictive than the overlay, but it's a typical condition. But if you wish to be more consistent with the overlay, you may wish to strike this condition from any motion for approval.
No, this is fine. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for staff at this time? Okay, if the applicant, please come forward. I know you probably feel like we all know you, but for the record, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is David Williams from Franklin, North Carolina, 1835 Bates Branch Road.
Okay. Do the board members have, do you have any other comments that you would like to add for the staff comments?
No.
Okay. So do the board have any questions for the applicant regarding this case?
Now, are you aware of the overlay requirements?
Yes, sir. I was glad to see it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Give everybody time. Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
This time, we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in favor of the case. And we're going to allow 10 minutes for those who want to speak in opposition of the case. All righty, and I'd like the applicant to please come forward. You got smart and you sat in a chair.
Took a while.
You knew what was going to happen. Okay, do you have any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, you may be seated.
Thank you.
We can call the case.
RZ 14-09, David C. Williams of Franklin, North Carolina, requests a rezoning from RA Residential Agricultural to C2 General Commercial for property located at 5490 Flakes Mill Road, land lots 220 of the 12th District. The property consists of 1 ± acres, and the request is for a car wash in Commission District 5 and was presented by Mr. Stacy Jordan.
Okay, do I have a motion for this case?
Madam Staff, I would like to make a motion to approve based on staff recommendation of the 6 conditions.
Okay, I have a motion for approval by Mr. Nelson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Risher. Any discussion? All those in favor indicating by raising your hand. Motion carried unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, that is all the cases that we're going to hear for tonight, and we will allow 10 minutes total for public comment. So if you would like to come forward and say what's on your mind for 10 minutes, we're open for public comment. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and board member. My name is Ed Ringfield, and I don't have a comment. I'd like to ask a question because I came here to, I live at 756 North Steel Drive. I'm right across from Carl Parker, and they had a zone here about that cell tower going up there, and you skipped it. It was on, and I don't know why. Yeah, and that's why I sat here. You know, it was
That number 4 was tabled.
number 4.
It was tabled. So it tabled means we didn't hear it tonight.
Okay, so they're gonna redo it.
You would have to ask the staff at a different time.
Yeah, once the applicant is ready to proceed, they will notify the planning and zoning department, and at that time we will determine which meeting that they can be on. But as of right now, and per the applicant's request, they ask that their case be tabled, which means it's postponed.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments? Okay, hearing none. Motion to adjourn? Okay.
Second.
Yeah,
Voted.
well,
Approved.
we're gone.